Welcome to Ready to Rise, episode 4. Today I'm in Fresno, California. Excited to get into the episode with you today. Got some cool stuff to talk about and interesting things happening in the business world. Some updates on what took place with the Fed rates that did not change, and some other cool stuff going on. So as always, we'll follow our same format and run through this as like we would a Rise meeting. So we'll go through that together and have a good time doing it. Just a few notes. This is the last podcast of the quarter. So as we coach businesses, everything's in quarterly cadences and rhythms. So last podcast of the quarter, we'll start Q3 with episode 5 next week. And we'll look forward to jumping into that and have some stuff for you there as we get closer to that episode. So let's jump right into it today. So always start with some good news and a story of just something positive happening. You know, there is so much negative we could talk about, and there's so many things that we can get stuck in, just bad thoughts. And so it's always fun to read a good story and pick up some good stuff. So this week, a guy named Spencer Bosley runs a lawn carrying account, SB Mowing. If you're on Instagram, you might have seen him before. But he met a woman in Wichita, Kansas. Her name was Debbie. Her story is kind of a sad one, where her husband was diagnosed with cancer. He was given about 90 days to live. She became his full-time caregiver, started trying to take care of her, and she was having to start doing some of the lawn work, and so she paid somebody a couple $1,000 to come cut some trees down, and the workers just never showed up to take care of the work. And so he stepped in at that point and cut her grass and took care of her entire lawn free of charge. And then he turned around and paid for 3 months of her back rent to help her get on her feet and so forth. And so out of it, he also decided to try to see if anybody else wanted to help out and help Debbie out and give her a hand. And so he just set up a GoFundMe account just to see if he could be of help. And the story and the video and everything went viral. And Debbie received more than $685,000 from 22,000 strangers who saw what he did, saw how he stepped in when somebody needed something, and decided they wanted to do the same. And man, what a cool story. And it's just cool to see people do something just as simple as cutting grass, and other people get inspired, other people get on board, and do what you can to be of help to somebody else. So shout out to you, Travis or Spencer with SB Mowing. Go give them a follow on Instagram, see what else they got going on. But just always good to start with something positive and some good news there. We'll get into our stoplight report. We look at this every week. The team will put it here on the screen when I get done with this video so that you can see where we're at for the week. Again, this will be the end of the quarter, so we'll start a fresh one next week on a new stoplight report. Some things much didn't change. Obviously, we'll talk about it when we get to resources in a little bit. The Fed held, then turned hawkish. They've already started talking about how they are either going to either keep the rates static or raise them even at the next quarter. But Fed Chair Kevin Warsh just left the rates at 3.5 to 3.75. Projecting that they're going to go up later this year. And so something definitely to keep an eye on. Cost still hot, confidence still low, inflation still at 3.8, almost double the 2% target that we're shooting for. So really would like to see that come down. Obviously, that's what you're seeing, that balance of the rates and making sure we're trying to keep all those things in line. Optimism is at 95.3, below its 50-year average for the third month in a row. So optimism among small business owners, still not feeling very confident. I don't think the Fed's news helped them feel more confident. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Watch the undercurrent of jobs. Unemployment steady at 4.3. If you look under that a little bit, though, you'll start seeing unemployed people are staying out of work for a longer period of time than before. So while unemployment isn't blowing up, you have more people staying out of work for longer periods of time. You'll see that story come up later on as we go through it. So just to kind of encapsulate our stoplight report, what you should be keeping an eye on. Not much change this week. Everything's pretty static. We see again that difficulty around just low confidence in things, low confidence in where the market's going. Our uncertainty index was at a 91. 68 is the normal, so we got a 36% difference of people just feeling uncertain. Optimism down. The rates are a challenge. So lots of difficulty. But obviously, if you're a business owner, lots of opportunity, and we'll get into that as we get deeper into the story. Again, quarterly commitment check-in. I have 4 quarterly commitments. I'll have 4 new ones for you next week. And I'm going to preface this with, man, I do quarterlies almost every day of my life. And I get to coach teams, encourage them, inspire them to pick good quarterly commitments and then stick to them and make their way all the way through it. So just the same as I make my clients, hold them accountable. I'm grateful you're here holding me accountable. We did get the Rise software put together, so we've got that rolling out end of this week to some beta testers to start looking at that and seeing how that's going to work. So check on the quarterly commitment there. I am still writing the book that I have not finished yet, and I'm not going to have it done in time for the end of the quarter. So fail on my part. I'm working on a book. I have been just slaving over it, trying to get it right, and I'm not happy with it yet. So I'm gonna push it and make it a quarterly commitment next quarter. But that's what happens. So if you're a client of mine and I give you a hard time about missing your quarterly commitments, you can feel free to text me and give me a hard time about it. I'll take it. We did hire a marketing director, so that was taken care of. And then finalized the new brand lab. Got that put together in a plan. We'll be rolling that out into Q3, but the plan is set and we're excited about what we're going to be doing there. So lots of cool stuff coming up. Always like to give you an update where I'm at, where I'm going, what's happening, what's going on. Again, today I'm in Fresno, California. I got another client here in Fresno tomorrow, so 2 days in Fresno, and then I fly from here tomorrow night to Seattle, Washington to work with my dear friend and amazing client and all-around good guy, Thatch Wynn. If you don't know Thatch, go on Instagram, type in Thatch, give him a follow. He's an incredible follow on Instagram. Just gives some amazing advice. I say of Thatch, if one of my daughters wanted to get into real estate and they wanted to learn the ins and outs of real estate specifically, man, I think I'd probably have him learn from Thatch. He's just a brilliant mind and an amazing person, so give him a follow. And then Friday, I leave from Seattle. Wednesday, I leave from Seattle, go to Las Vegas, Nevada to work with another amazing client, Ryan Pineda, and his team and all his suite of companies. So excited to be there on Thursday. Flying home, and then I posted on Facebook the other day, but bucket list item for me. I am an incredibly huge fan of Jesse Cole and what he's built with the Savannah Bananas, just as a marketer and as a business owner. To watch what he's done there is just a spectacular thing. And so I live in Iowa, and in Iowa, Kinnick Stadium is where the Iowa Hawkeyes play. It's a huge stadium, and the Savannah Bananas are playing at Kinnick, and we put our name in the lottery to get tickets, and we got tickets. So Friday, July 3rd, I'll be at Kinnick Stadium. I'll post pictures, don't worry, it's gonna be amazing. But excited about that, a good week, taking the whole family, going down to Kinnick Stadium. Well, we're taking most of the family. We have a 3-year-old, and we figure, you know what, this is probably not something she's gonna be down for, so she's gonna hang out with grandma while we go do that. So looking forward to a great week there. Next week, oh man, where am I at next week? I think I'm in California again next week, and then Utah, and then back in California towards the end of the week. So lots going on. Excited about that. Got some really, really cool, big personal news today that I'm not going to share on here, but I will soon. So it's just an incredible story. I'll tell everybody someday about this whole thing. It's wild. So that'll be a good teaser to keep watching Ready to Rise, that someday I will tell you this amazing story. Okay, let's get into our issues list, our challenges for the week, some things that are taking place, and what my thoughts are on them, where I see the market going, and what we should do about it. So first story in resources. Again, if you're not familiar with the format of Ready to Rise, we have 2 stories in resources, 2 stories in inspiration, 2 in systems, 2 in engagement. So we'll start with our resources stories. As I mentioned a little bit ago in the Stoplight Report, the Fed just told you that cheap money isn't coming back. June 16th and 17th meeting of the Federal Reserve held interest rates steady at 3.5 to 3.75. This was partly expected. People were already talking about how this was going to happen. The surprise was the forecast. The Fed's own dot plot, where they look at what they're thinking about the rates and so forth, moved its 2026 median from 3.4 up to 3.8. That means the committee now expects to raise the rates at least once this year instead of cutting them. Man, it seems like every quarter we've been talking about they're going to cut the rate again and again. I heard somebody talk, boy, they felt like maybe in 2026 we would see upwards of 3 rate cuts, get us down to a really nice low number, but that's not going to happen. It's going to come back up. For context, small business bank loans are already running about 7% and up. The SBA loans up. SBA loans roughly 11.75 to 14.75. This was the first meeting under the new chair, Kevin Warsh. So again, new to the job, walking into a difficult economy, and is going to have to make some tough decisions here. And so it was more hawkish on pushing things back. What we should be thinking about, what we should be planning for, what does this mean for the rest of your 2026? If you were planning on getting loans, small business loans, if you were planning on borrowing money, you need to start planning the rest of your year based on the fact that that money is going to cost what it costs today, if not a little bit more. And so if you were being very, very aggressive going after things and saying, well, it'd be fine, they'll lower the rates, we'll be able to do some cool stuff, it's not going to happen. So we have to start planning the business based on the conditions on the field, on the ground. We're not going to be able to change the conditions. And the rules of the game aren't going to change. We're going to have to just play with the hand we're dealt here. And this is what it's going to look like to borrow money. Make sure that, again, you are planning your business based on what is not a rose-colored glasses version of what the rest of the year could look like if they lowered the rates. This is what it's going to be. If you're going to make any key hires and critical hires, make sure you have the cash flow and the revenue to support those hires, not the expectation that maybe if the rates go down, we can do some other stuff. Don't go making a bunch of capital investments thinking, well, I'll just get the cheap money later this year, because you're probably not going to get the cheap money later this year. So just some stuff to keep an eye on. As a business owner, we're obviously managing always revenues and cash flows, revenues and cash flows. This may be a good time to take just a few chips off the table, make sure that your cash on hand is in a healthy place, make sure that you have reserves in place, because again, you're not going to be able to go get the money for as cheap as maybe we would have hoped that you were going to be able to get it for. So this is a good opportunity to just check your accounts, make sure you have enough money on hand, and make sure you can support things as they go. So important there. All right, resources. Second story. The job market looks calm on the top, but there's a little bit of something going on underneath. Again, I alluded to this a little bit at the beginning when I talked about the jobs report. The May jobs report looked fine on the surface, 172,000 new jobs, well above the 80,000 that were expected. Unemployment stayed steady at 4.3%. But if you look just a little bit lower below that, the number of long-term unemployed people out of work for 27 weeks or more, okay? So just to give context, somebody who had a job, either was laid off, quit, stepped out of the job market for 27 weeks or more is up by 524,000 over the past year, now making up 27.5% of all unemployed people have been on the sidelines for an extended period of time. That's an incredible number. And what it means is this, it means that people are being a lot more selective with choosing their long-term careers. They're being a lot more selective with where they're going to work and who they're going to work with. Now, the answer to why this is happening is twofold. Number one, people being more picky. Number two, they can. And what I mean by that is right now in a gig economy, there's so many opportunities for them to go drive for Uber Eats or DoorDash, or to do a little side work here or do a little side project there and make enough money to pay their expenses and get by. So their willingness to lock back into a everyday 9 to 5, here's what I'm going to do, is less required than it's ever been before. They can go work for a couple of hours on an Uber, make a few bucks as a contractor and call it a day. Do it again the next day and just make it by. It just means that if you're hiring people, you're probably going to come across more people who worked a few months ago, have been off the market, and are going to either come back in. And so making sure that we are checking and doing an audit on ourselves, make sure we're a place people want to work, making sure that we have jobs lined up for people who come from that type of an experience, and making sure that we're going after the right talent. So just keep that in mind as you see people coming in for interviews. If somebody makes a statement that they've been out of work for a little while, don't just immediately assume that they couldn't find a job. They may have chosen to sit on the sidelines for longer. It also means that we can be, as I mentioned last week, more selective in who we hire. You should be interviewing multiple candidates for roles. You should be talking to multiple people. Don't get sold on the first one through the door. There should be enough people for you to look at and feel confident that we are getting the best person for the job. I know this to be true. Somebody who's very nice and very sweet and very kind and they do very well in an interview, you will be very frustrated with them if they don't get performance and if they can't do the job. As nice and as sweet and as much as you like them in the interview, when they're not bringing in revenue or they're not saving you money, they don't seem so nice and sweet and kind anymore. So take your time, find the right people. There should be good candidates out there who've taken themselves off the market for a while that should be coming back on. So keep that in mind. All right, let's get into some inspiration. This is a topic that I'm a little hot on. I have some strong opinions on it, and so I'll get into it. Return to office mandates are backfiring, and some bosses meant for them to. So a wave of 2026 research is landing on the same conclusion. Obviously, post-COVID, you had what they called the RTO mandates, which were return to office mandates. 25% of executives and 18% of HR leaders admit that they hope that the return to office mandates would make some employees quit. So before we just jump to a conclusion that these return to office mandates have caused people to disconnect and disengage and quit their jobs and so forth, please understand this. In a lot of cases, they were meant to. They've as much as admitted it, a lot of your large Fortune 500 companies, that when they force people to move, I'll give an example. Walmart said, hey, if you're going to be in the Walmart corporate side of the business, you need to relocate to Bentonville, Arkansas, or LA, I believe it's somewhere in New York, one of those 3 locations. And if you do not relocate within this period of time, your employment's being terminated. Now, what you find out afterwards is that Walmart, leading up to COVID, was grossly overstaffed. I believe Patagonia did something similar. Amazon did similar things. A lot of these businesses said, "Hey, look, if you want to work with us, you gotta be on site. You gotta be here in person." And a lot of that was just they were just trying to trim their workforce down, trying to get where a lot of the bloat that they had leading into COVID, and they had to carry through COVID simply because you had PPP loans and you had the ability to keep people longer than you maybe should have, and nobody's really getting fired in the middle of that environment. They used the opportunity of RTO, return to office, to trim the sales back. Now, the research that they did also showed, University of Pittsburgh research found that return to office mandates did not improve company performance or stock value. Now, I want to caveat this because obviously when somebody like the University of Pittsburgh or any of the major consulting firms, your McKinseys of the world, when they do these types of studies, obviously their lens is zoomed in almost exclusively on Fortune 500. And I don't doubt that if you work at a Fortune 500 company and they said you get to work from home and then they said, nope, sorry, you got to come back to office, that you're not going to be a little salty about it and you're not going to perform at your best. It's sad. It's unfortunate that people do that, but that's what happens. On the flip side, as somebody who sits in businesses every day of my life practically and goes to all sorts of different companies and different verticals and different team sizes and different structures, I will tell you from what I can see, with the exception of those who use virtual assistants who are overseas, who obviously in-office isn't even an option for them, the teams that have a good office culture, a good company culture where a team of, 5 to 50 people work out of a same office and can synergize and work and meet together, if not all the time, at least days of the week. From a company culture standpoint and from a connection standpoint and from a orchestrating activity and communication standpoint, in my opinion, definitely outperform companies that don't. Now, before I get just blasted in the comments, okay, before I just get blasted on this thing, of course there are exceptions. Of course, that is a blanket statement that doesn't apply to everyone. Of course, there are incredible teams that work remote and everybody does great and they make a lot of money and all of that. The average, the median is they work better if they're in person. So if you're somebody who's contemplating between those two things and you're just like, I feel like we're missing something by being in person, maybe we should do more virtual, or I feel like we're missing something by being virtual, we should go more in person, I will always lean towards the in-person side of things. I think there's so much to be said for coordinating activities, getting on the same page. I'm a huge proponent. If you say, look, man, my team just gets burned out because of the commute and so forth, In my opinion, this is the gospel according to Brandon on this one. In my opinion, I would rather have somebody in person for 7 hours than at home for 8. Meaning I would rather pay them for their commute and have them in office for 7 hours than at home for 8. I would rather have somebody in person 4 days a week and at home one of them than at home 5, or rather in 1 and out 4. There's just so much to be said for communication. Just think about it. I mean, Slack is everybody uses Slack at business, and I mean Slack. How many people have misunderstood things that are said in Slack? How many people have misunderstood intentions or misunderstood motives or what somebody was trying to say off of a Slack message or a text? In person just has some advantages that are just you can't quantify. And I feel like I've paid the price to be able to make that statement, because for the last 6 years, I've gotten on an airplane. I've done at least 100 consulting days a year for the last 6 years, because I believe in being in front of somebody, being able to see the emotions on their face, watching the body language, picking up on what's going on around them. And so I think it's a good study, University of Pittsburgh. I agree with the premise in a large Fortune 500 environment that you probably did lose some efficiencies, but from a company culture standpoint, there's just something about being in person. Especially, and I'll leave with this, even if you are a virtual team and you're the owner, let me encourage you to try something. Have a quarterly planning session and fly everybody in. It won't be cheap, it won't be easy, but I promise you it's worth it. Fly everybody in, have your planning session, do it once a quarter, do it once every 6 months, whatever it is, but find a time to be able to get your team together. Second, employee engagement just hit a post-2020 low, and AI seems to be making it worse. Gallup's 2026 State of the Global Workspace report found global employee engagement fell to about 20%, down for the second year in a row, lowest since 2020. Again, Gallup, I mentioned this, I think 2-3 weeks ago. Gallup pegs a roughly, check this out, $10 trillion, a $10 trillion in lost productivity worldwide. AI is adding to the strain, not the relief. 96% of senior leaders expect AI to boost their performance. But on the flip side, so where 96% of the leaders say if we put AI in there, it's going to supercharge the employee, 77% of employees said AI tools actually increase their workload, and a growing share are quietly fearing that it's going to automate them out if they keep using them long term. So we see the stress coming because employees are feeling like there's more pressure on them to grow. There's more pressure on them to learn these new tools and to get better at their job. And what's coming out of it is a lot of inefficiency. One bright finding they did, workers with strong manager support reported a 58% lower burnout. And teams using AI far more productively when a manager actively leads the adoption. If the manager is actively leading the adoption, 79% of them are favorable and use it, and 46% don't when the manager is not adopting themselves. What does this mean? Team members at large want to do a good job. People want to do a good work when they go to work. Sharper Business Solutions, who I work with, one of our company purpose statement is to do a good work that supports God's work. To do a good work, it means that like we want to do a good job. Most of the people I meet have professional pride in what they do. They do it to the best of their ability. They get it set as best as they know how, and they try to do everything they can to make sure that they are doing a good work. What most of the time I find is when we try to implement new things, when I try to get quarterly commitments like I did at my beginning of mine, I try to give somebody a stoplight report, or I try to give them some tools to just help us measure the growth and the efficiency of the company. I feel like I say this till I'm blue in the face, but I will tell teams almost every day, the stoplight report is not a report card. This is not scoring whether or not somebody's good at their job or bad at their job. This is a trending report that tells us we have one of 3 problems. It's either a people problem, or a process problem, or a market problem. And we always start with the process. This could just be, we're not good at this. It's not that anybody's bad at it, our process is bad, and we need to change our process. The people component is so important because you can have the best hammer in the world. If you don't have somebody to swing it, you're kind of out of luck. And so as we add new hammers and new tools to the tool belt like AI, it is going to require that the people who are training and leading and managing and helping the team implement these tools take on a servant's heart when doing it. You are not going to be able to cram this down somebody's throat and say, I know you've done it this way for this period of time, but now you're going to do it this way, and that's just the way it's going to go. Let me give you an example. My dad drove semi for United Parcel Service for 35 years. For years and years. When I was in college, I managed a truck stop. So I'm familiar with what they call a logbook. And for years and years, drivers would have their logbook and they'd have to log their hours so that they could prove that they rested when they were supposed to rest and they were driving when they're supposed to be driving and all that different stuff. Some still use it. It's very antiquated now. Most of the time, and UPS did this when my dad was working, they implemented a digital logbook where literally there's GPS on the truck already. They know when you're stopped. They know when you're moving. They know all of it. And so it just tracks it, okay? When they first put that in place, I'm sure you can guess what the immediate response was. Well, that's micromanaging. What do you mean you're going to track me everywhere I drive? What do you mean all of this? Now, after it got implemented, after it was being used, after they saw the benefits of a driver not having to sit there and say, here's my logbook, or rather, if they're trying to game the system, here's my other logbook, here's my logbook, here's it all done right, did I do it right, if I get pulled over, is a police officer going to be okay with what I did here? All that goes away and everything got better. But at the beginning, the adoption was not, oh, we're so excited about these digital logbooks. And we're going to have to think about that kind of stuff as we're implementing AI and automations and integrations and eventually robotics and different things into our companies. If you don't get your team on board, if you don't get some champions of the cause as you bring things on, it will fail. If you're an owner and you say, man, I really need my team to be implementing this stuff and I really need them to get excited about it, I really need it, then you need to take your best leaders and the ones that you know everybody in the company looks at and looks up to, and you need to go get them to buy in. And if you can't get them to buy in, it's not going to work. So before you just go run off and say, well, everybody's just inefficient, we're going to have to turn this whole team over to get people in here who are more innovative and blah, 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 blah. Stop. Get your best leaders, take them out to lunch, sit them down, and explain to them why we're doing this, how we're going to do it, how it makes their life better, and how it improves their situation. So, tidbit for you there. Okay, let's get on to systems. New privacy law landed this week. This is across a couple different states. Connecticut has one. Colorado is working on one. There's a couple of others that are coming to the forefront that are interesting and something that we should definitely be keeping an eye on and something you should be taking care of. Where does it affect you? If you're using AI at all to screen applicants, set prices, or score leads, you may be on the hook for something. A lot of these tools, what the state laws or the mandates or one of these new laws going on the books that they're trying to create are basically saying that these tools are being overly restrictive in some places. They are discriminate in some places, and that if you're using these tools to do things without a human touch, just the same as if a human being were to discriminate against somebody or misread the data and make a decision, they would be responsible for it. They're saying if it's your AI and you used it to do something, you are responsible for the outcome. You are responsible for it. So again, today, if you're a small business owner and you say, well, Brandon, I'm just a small business owner and I got a Claude account or I got a ChatGPT account, and we run our leads through there and we give it some criteria to see if those leads are any good, I would just make sure that you take the time to check with legal counsel, get an attorney, pay them for a few hours, whatever. I know it's not cheap. I know it's expensive, to just review your processes and say, are we doing anything with the AI that would be outside of compliance? Especially, this is not a political statement, but I'm going to say it anyway, especially if you're in a blue state, make sure that you have very, very clear visibility to what your privacy laws are in that state, what you are and are not allowed to use AI to do for you, and what you are and are not accountable for and can be held liable to if you do it. If it touches hiring, pricing, customer data, anything like that, just make sure that you have a one-page privacy policy in place, and that anybody who that data is touched, that they have access to a privacy policy. Get an attorney, let them write it with you, get it somewhere it can be seen, and just make sure that you are compliant within this. We're going to get down the road on some of these AI processes that we've invested a lot of time and money on, and we're going to find out that there's going to be some legal ramifications if we don't set them up right the first time. So, fair warning. Okay. Systems, number 2. Ransomware is now a small business problem all of a sudden from out of nowhere. The data is very stark on this. 96% of ransomware victims are now small businesses, according to Verizon's 2026 data. Half of small businesses will face some kind of a cyber attack in 2026. Okay, let me say that again. If you're watching this and somebody else is watching this, one of you is probably going to have a cyber attack of some type this year. And it's only going to get worse. I mean, you already have, even this week, the U.S. government, the White House blocked ChatGPT from putting out a new model because of some of the privacy things and some of the cybersecurity concerns around it. 60% of small companies that get hit close will get hit close within the next 6 months. This is coming right now. Stop thinking about ransomware and cyber attacks and things like that like a big business component, and start thinking about it as a small business, more specifically, a my business component. Your data needs to be taken care of. Your security needs to be locked down. Things need to be under control. I will tell you, I just talked to somebody recently who is very, very connected in the cybersecurity, counterintelligence, that community of stuff. And the conversation we were having was, you really need to be thinking about having your own private servers, your own private networks, things that can be secured and locked down much better than even the cloud and those access points that are out there. I will tell you, I'm somebody who still has Google Drive files and have all my stuff up in the cloud. I'm telling you right now, I am strongly researching building out my own racks, building out my own servers, getting everything off the cloud, because as these tools come online, it's not a maybe, there are going to be victims of this. And if you're a business owner, I would just go through all of your systems and just back everything up, check all of the loopholes, don't leave a bunch of old email addresses floating around, don't leave a bunch of old passwords floating around, put a good cybersecurity software on your computer. I just downloaded NordVPN so I can run a VPN network. That helps with some things. There's all sorts of stuff you can do. I would just tell you I know every time I come on here, you're like, Brandon, you're just trying to spend more money on stuff. I'm not. But if you have a lot of data, I would strongly consider finding even a fractional IT company to just come in and do an audit and just make sure that everything is like it ought to be. Make sure you have everything where it's supposed to be. Okay, done with cybersecurity. Let's get on to engagement. Let's talk about some marketing and sales. The search bar you built on your marketing is shrinking. Gartner released this report that said that roughly 25% of search engine volume across Google, Bing, all the search engines will fall by 25% by 2026 as people move more to asking AI. Nearly 80% of queries still come from Google. So still the overarching dominant one. However, a big chunk of the tell me the best plumber near me traffic is moving into tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Grok, so forth and so forth and so on. ChatGPT now fields a volume of questions equal to roughly 12% of Google's search traffic. That is bonkers when you think about how much search traffic they've had. On the order of 1.6 billion queries a day. So the thing to look at and the thing to keep your eyes on and the thing to keep a pulse on. I'm always cautious when I say what I'm going to say, because a lot of times people will hear this and say, oh my goodness, my business is going under tomorrow if I don't fix this. There are still so many opportunities. I will tell you, as somebody who runs or manages a marketing firm that runs PPC ads, we're seeing still just great results on PPC. We're seeing great numbers on a lot of the traffic there. The conversion rates are good. A lot of really good things. I'm very, very bullish for the next 6 months on PPC. You should not be turning these things off at the expense and going and doing something else. However, I'm also very bullish on SEO. I think you should do everything you can to put yourself in the right position. Don't overspend on it, but certainly don't ignore it. Have a good SEO strategy. That being said, you really need to start looking at what is our strategy going to be when AI eats more of the search. And AI takes more of those search terms, start ending up on ChatGPT, not on Google. What's your strategy going to be? How's your company thinking about it? What are you doing to get ready for it? And what I mean by get ready for it means is your website tight? Are you posting relevant, long form, specific niche content? Are you doing things like I'm doing right here, where I'm creating video content, trying to position and do things? For a client of ours is a pretty influential person, and I was talking to him recently about this, and he said he got his first deal a few months ago from an AI search. And they had not had any kind of AI strategy. It was just simply because ChatGPT and Gemini had come to the conclusion that when it comes to that topic, he was the person that people should be talking to. And the only data point that it really had was a very large social media presence. So if you're not thinking about your content creation strategy and how you get more information into the hands of the right people who should be looking for you, the better off you're going to be. So be thinking about that strategy. All right, last but not least, one of the funnest is the word? Yeah. Funnest things to do in marketing that I'm very, very big proponent of. If you've never done any of it, I strongly encourage you. I did it with a client. This was 10 years ago. We did some of this type of marketing and it worked really, really well, and it's influencer marketing. Okay, so what's it look like? Let's just say, for example, I get a lot of clients in real estate, so you're an investor. You buy and sell houses, you flip houses, you do some wholesaling, whatever the case might be. You should be thinking about who are the people in your market today that talk to your customers the most often. How do you figure that out? I would go on Instagram, I would go on Facebook, I would go on TikTok, and I would start trying to make a list of the top 10 people who talk to financial literacy. Here's the key thing. In your market, in your area, don't try to pay for the national guy. But I promise you, there are 10 people in your market who are, they own a used car dealership. They teach financial literacy courses. They help people with their taxes. They help people, they power wash businesses. There are some people that if you went to them and said, hey, look, I would either like to give you services or I would like to give you money to promote my business, it will work incredibly well. Let me tell you what we did. I was helping a company years and years ago launch an all-natural skincare line. And so they made these lip balms and they made a bunch of stuff, but they made lip balm that was made out of beeswax and had different flavors to it and so forth and so on. So what I did is I went on to Instagram and I spent 2 weeks doing this. And I went on and I would search for anybody who had around 7,500 followers in a very specific area. Their photography looked good and they took their own pictures and I could tell that. And I would just direct message them on Instagram, and I direct messaged thousands of people. It caps you at a certain, I don't know if it still does or not, but Instagram used to cap you every day. Once you started messaging too many people, it would say, you've messaged too many people today, you have to wait till tomorrow. I would literally max it out every day for about 2 months. And I would just email an influencer and I would say, hey, we would love to send you a free box of lip balms. In exchange, we would like 3 pictures on your profile. We would like a couple stories. We'd like a couple things here and there. I will tell you, we were getting promotional pictures shot for this stuff. The pictures we were getting out of people posted on Instagram of our products was insane. I mean, beautiful stuff we were using on the website because it looked that good. We would call back and be like, we have permission to use this picture. They'd be like, sure. It was incredible. It worked amazingly well. It had a little bit of a viral hit of all this lip balms going everywhere. It was awesome. Influencer marketing. What can this look like even at a smaller level? If you do anything with physical promotional items or products, and I'm not talking about giving everybody stress balls, I'm talking about like something legitimately good that you can give a customer that they can post online, share with a friend, talk about a unique experience you created for them. You can end up with a ton of nano influencers all over your town, all over your area, promoting your products and services for you. I'll give you an example that happened this morning. I was on Instagram. I opened my app this morning and I had a direct message on Instagram. I opened it up and it was from a guy trying to sell me services to edit my videos. Now, I have a great guy on our team who edits our videos for us, and we've got a team of people doing it. I didn't need his services. But what he did is he didn't just say, hire me to do your video editing services. He sent me 2 clips that he had gone onto my Instagram or my Facebook or whatever, grabbed a video that I was in, clipped it up, sent it to me and said, hey, would love to do this for you. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's looking and saying, how do we increase the seller experience to where we turn the seller into influencers, or the buyer experience to turn the buyers into influencers? What can we do? And it can be as simple as a nice gift, a surprise and delight 2 weeks after their transaction, send them something nice, something that gets people and creates a conversation outside of just we buy houses. So encourage you to go find some micro influencers. If you're a little bit bigger and you've got a little bit of money to play with, don't forget, the NIL deals are active, alive, and well. If you have a local college and the kid at the local college is a well-known quarterback because he plays great on Saturdays, guess what? You can slide him a few bucks and he can come and promote your business for you. So be creative here. There are opportunities in this. There are people that you can go to and say, hey, look, I just want to give you, I'll tell you this, for Sharper, we do a little bit of this. We have clients where we give them a little extra something, or we help them out with an event they're having or a something or another in exchange for, hey, when you talk about businesses, would you mention Sharper Business Solutions? We got to find opportunities because there's so much noise right now that if there are voices that people know, like, and trust, we want our brand and our name coming out of those people's mouths. And so use this as a tool. Again, it should be thought of as a marketing strategy just like any other, meaning it should have KPIs, meaning it should have processes, meaning it should have a way and a system whereby you're running it. This shouldn't just be let's just throw some stuff out there and let's see what happens. When I was doing it with the lip balms, I had a little stoplight report of how many I reached out to, what was my response rate, how many of them got the products. I had to follow back up to make sure that if they didn't post about it, that I checked in with them and saw when they were going to be posting. It needs to be treated like a serious thing that you go after and you use. But very, very useful, very, very valuable tool. I will say that we've got clients of ours that are either former professional athletes or different things like that, and they leverage their own personal brand from the other things that they did to be able to get more out of what they're doing now. Use what you have. Use the influence you have and use the influence of others to grow your business. Okay. What should you do this week? Do this. Re-underwrite all of your decisions based on what we talked at the beginning of the podcast. Re-underwrite all your decisions and saying, if this is what the conditions are going to be from now to the end of the year, what does that change for us in hiring, in adding new tools, in buying new assets, in capital allocations, in owner's distributions? Should we keep a little more money on the sheet just to make sure everybody is taken care of through a little bit of a rocky season? Because remember, during these times are the times where if you're playing on the margins, you'll get wiped out. If you're playing from a good solid base of information, a good solid base of cash on hand and the things you need, this is an opportunity to win big. So a lot of stuff to do there. Again, make sure that if we see folks in need and we see our team in need and we see others around us, let's be just the same as the guy we talked about at the beginning. We see a need, we take the lead. We see a problem, we come with a solution. If you see a problem in your business this week, don't just gloss it over. Step in, solve the problem, get it better, get on to the next thing. Thanks again for joining me. Again, this was episode 4. We've made it to 4. We're on our way to 400. I don't know how many of these I'll do, but I hope they're a help to you. I hope they're an encouragement to you. Again, message me. Tell me if something resonated with you. Tell me where you disagree. Tell me what's going on in your business and your life. Would love to connect and chat with you. But we'll see you next week for episode 5 of Ready to Rise.